This is four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler, and this program is brought to you by Cutler Nutrition, Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, check it. The hour power. POD cast is upon your ass. Spitting on the mic is the NZ boss, and his homie DJ NZ the Oz. Yeah, don't twitch, don't snitch, don't switch. Just open up your senses. And now listen to the hour power. To the hour power. To the hour power. To the hour power.
All right, everybody, it's the NSNZ boss. We're locked down for another episode of the Hour of Power, episode 7. We got our boy, the infamous DJ Bigwig, and we're extremely, there he is, to have one of the bodybuilding legends and four-time Mr. Olympia from Las Vegas, Jay Cutler. Welcome, Jay.
Welcome, boys. I'm happy to be on, man. It's I just was luckily seeing you guys not too long ago, but it's been a minute, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to say and give the fans out there listening or your people that follow you guys something to hear about and talk about.
Beautiful, no need brother. To thank us, man. We thank you. We're small time, man. We got the first Mr. I on our show, man. Huge.
Oh, listen, man. You guys and I go way back. I mean, back to end of '99, 2000. I mean, it's been a lengthy road. So we're fortunate to know you guys for such a long time, and you guys always taking great care of me when I come to Australia. Even though I've never been to New Zealand, I'm still looking to make that trip down there.
We got to make it happen, bro. We got to make it happen for sure.
I just want to come for fun, man, because everyone talks about how fun it is there, and I don't really want to work. So I guess if I just hang out with you, you don't work anyway, so it's all right.
We'll just train and chill, bro. We'll hang. It'll be all good.
That's fact number one of the show. Thanks for pointing it out, Jay. Thank you.
Hey, but before we kick into it a little bit more, going back to the late 90s and the early 2000s, Jay, I remember, when yourself and Dexter came through to Sydney, and before you guys, either of you two were Mr. O's, and I remember Danny was asking, what are your guys' ambitions and where do you want to go in the sport, etc. And Dexter was all about, man, I just want to get me some 24-inch rims, a big screen TV. It was all about the bling bling, and way back then, you were focused on winning and achieving that Mr. O title,
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't think much has changed for Dexter. He's still driving on 24s, He, of course, we got some Mr. O titles behind us. And listen, business has been always my number one priority. And I think I've mentioned this, and maybe not in our discussions. I mean, we've had a lot of lengthy conversations. It might be more general conversations than, bodybuilding and supplements or whatever. But my whole goal when I started to become who I became was to be financially supportive of what I wanted to do, and that was to work out and go to the gym. And I didn't care all the way up to the top really much about how much money I was going to make. As long as I could get my workouts in and it was fun for me, that's really what made it easy for me. And I always tell people that, like, you have to enjoy what you do, and the money will come with great success and brand building. And, I just had a meeting earlier, and I just was speaking about branding with someone, and, they said, what would you rather be, like a Pepsi or a Coke, or would you rather make money? And I said, it's two different things, because, building a great brand and having, that kind of recognition is meaningful, and the money will come with that. But I think for me, it was like I just wanted to be the best bodybuilder in the world, number one, but I also wanted to be a figurehead. I wanted to be someone that people were inspired to look like and emulate as far as the business side, and kind of track a career. And I think people can use my career as kind of a guideline. I mean, of course, it's hard to reach that status, right? I mean, people can't just start off and say, I want to win the Mr. Olympia and have, the branding that I had. It took time to build that. And as you know, I mean, you met me when I was kind of, I hate to say a nobody, but I wasn't, I think I was finished 15th in 99 at the Mr. Olympia and 8th in 2000. I think I was there about 2000 is when I came out there. Jero, you probably know better. I think it was 2000, right? Danny said 99, but that's not right.
Man, it was 2000 because I remember the place I was working at, the casino, nearly went to lockdown. I received a message on my EP said, DJ, we got 2 guys, big guys, want to see you. And I said, how big? They go, fucking big, man. Shall we go into lockdown? And I looked down and it was Jay Cutler, Dexter Jackson. I was like, holy fuck. Yeah, it was 2000, man.
Well, you hooked us up with a nice suite there, and I remember we stayed in the casino. I don't know what we were out there for. It was some sort of trade or something, but, we spent some time in Sydney. We spent some time in Perth, and, reminiscing back, man, those are, like, awesome days for me. The ride to the struggle to get there is always greater than when you reach that elite level. I can tell you that much. And a lot of people will probably be surprised to hear it because you dream of reaching the ultimate status, right? But then once you get there, it's like you're hanging on to it, but you kind of reflect back on, okay, what made me get to this point? And that's how I continue to strive to be better because of all the learning curves and the good and bad luck you've had in order to get there. Because I do believe there's something to it too. But it's those moments that were the most enjoyable when I was on my way up and I was shooting for something that was kind of out of reach, but not that far when you're really in the scope of things. I think I was there in 2001, actually, was when I was there, bro, because I think I went and I almost won the Olympia a few months later after that. That's when I got second.
Before you came back. Yeah.
I think for the first time. And that was my first experience in Australia. And I can honestly tell you guys, people ask me what the best place that I've been to in all my travels around the world, and I always tell them Australia is probably my favorite spot. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, the weather's great. The people are super nice. The accommodations have always been great. But I love Sydney, man. I mean, I've been to Perth. I've been to Gold Coast. I've been all over the place. But I really like Sydney for some reason.
I don't know. Sydney's the best place, man. Spot on there. Fuck Perth and Brisbane. Hi to people from there.
Starting gang wars now, bro. City wars.
I think Melbourne, they told me that they love it there more. They don't think Sydney's so great, but you're a city boy, so I guess that's what you have to like,
Oh, for sure, man. And I mean, you were here a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to point out to the viewers, I mean, I rarely ever see this, and I've been to a lot of trade shows over the last 12, 13 years, and Jay stood at the booth at the time he was there without break, without food, without any special requests, and just met every fan and took a photo with everyone. And I thought, fuck, that's pretty super special, man. So props to you with that, man. It obviously takes you.
I'm really hard-headed, so that makes it easy.
You've always been a gentleman, Jay. We've only ever had good experiences, and you're always about the fans and giving back. And going back in those early 2000s, when we first met you, you were the first bodybuilder that really we looked to as a businessman and a brand builder, but also a bodybuilder, but also a gentleman too. And that hasn't changed, in the last 15 years now that we've sort of known each other going back that far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as great then as I've become through all my experiences, obviously. So for me, it's been a lot of learning curve, and I've met a lot of great people, established a lot of great relationships, and it's been great for me, and I'm still continuing to do that. As you guys see, I'm still traveling extensively. I'm busier now than when I was winning Mr. O's, which is great.
For sure. Well, let's talk how you got into bodybuilding. It seems like working in a family-owned or family partnership in a concrete business at a very young age kind of got you your first muscle growth. Is that something you contribute to the start of lifting heavy things and getting into bodybuilding?
Yeah, I think, a lot of the labor work definitely helped in building the physique, because I was a kid at 14 and 15 that had a physique that was one that rivaled anyone that lifted weights, and I really didn't lift weights. So people always had that perception of, oh, this guy must lift weights. But I can tell you guys from being in the family business and getting up before school, after school, school vacations, weekends, I was forced to work. I had no choice but to go to work. It was a family business. It wasn't like, okay, you work 8 hours or you get paid this. I was taught the value of $1, and I was taught that there was no real shut-off switch. I mean, I went to school and I worked, and that was pretty much it. So I didn't have a lot of a social life. And at the time, I hated it because a lot of the kids around me were doing fun things and going on like family vacations. We didn't do that. My summers were built to work. I made a lot of money for a kid my age. I saved a lot. I was able to have really nice things as a teenager, but I really didn't have the balance of doing the funner things, which kind of bled over. And unfortunately for me, I get into a business of bodybuilding, and I say a business because that's really how I viewed it. That allowed me to focus solely on, becoming a bodybuilder, training around the clock, eating around the clock, sleeping on the right sleep patterns. And you guys know there's so many variables to develop a body, and that's why I was so good at it so early, because I had the commitment and the dedication, and I had the mindset, and I was visually able to, look at this and say, wow, I can really excel at this because I already have kind of the guidelines where they were based off working the family business and living that lifestyle where, you go to the gym, you're dedicated to your meals, and, you don't miss things. And there was no room for mistakes, really. So I was able to propel myself really fast, becoming a teenage national champion at 19, and then earning pro card like my third contest at 23. And then becoming a pro, and then working my way into the pros, and eventually becoming the best in the world. But I did struggle. I mean, there were struggles there too.
Yeah, you had that foundation. I think with a lot of successful sports people, that discipline and having to work hard at an early age sets a foundation for anything that you want to accomplish in life. And I think bodybuilding is one in general where having to have those meals and train consistently, if you can do that and diet down to extremely low body fat percentages, you can achieve anything that you set your mind to in life. Would you agree with that, Jay?
I would agree, but you still have to have some sort of balance around it, and that balance was compiled into family and friends, and of course working the business side. I mean, you can't just automatically just start eating and sleeping and training. How are you going to pay your bills, right? So I still worked a job around my early years, and then eventually I became more of an entrepreneur between, my DVDs and my T-shirts and my photo ops, and then booking the guest appearances, endorsements with the supplements, and, eventually owning my own branding, which I currently do to this day. And it's just been a great opportunity. I've developed a lot of great relationships, and that's the thing I learned too is you can't just only focus on one thing solely. I mean, as a bodybuilder training for a competition, yes, but the problem is you still have to fund that, right? And I think a lot of society nowadays, they're trying to figure out, okay, how can I make money doing this? And be great at it and continue to make money and brand build. And I think now with social media, it's kind of allowed a lot of people without the accolades to be able to earn themselves. But, that's what's different. You guys come from the magazine era. You used to pick up the magazines and see what I was doing. Nowadays, every minute to every hour, you can see what all of us are doing. And you have things like this where you can listen to, podcasts or whatever while you're working out or while you're doing your cardio or just going through your day-to-day driving the car, and people can listen to this stuff and learn tips or motivational things or a little more background of the people that they follow or coming across it. So but it definitely gave me the foundation. I mean, I had a great physique from a lot of construction work, but it wasn't just that. So
a part of the balance for me, and you're partly to blame for this, is my love for sneakers. I remember back in the day, you being one of the OGs rocking the Jordans, and I'd be like, damn, I've got to get me a pair of those Jordans. And I started with Jordans from watching you rocking them up to about 50, 60 pairs. I've easily got 150 pairs of sneakers now.
I have more than you, though.
You'll have more than me. How many you got?
I don't know if I can count that high, bro.
Oh shit!
You learn from me. So what does that tell you?
Oh man, trendsetter, bro. That's where all my money goes on shoes.
I have a shoe guy that sends me listings every week.
I've seen her, man. Fuck, hook us up, bro.
Well, Juro's got those fake ones from Bali, bro. The other ones he's rocking.
Well, give me that link, bro, because I'm tired of spending, $150 or $200 on every pair of shoes.
Man, my shoes have overflowed. We got a built-in robe made, and now they're all through our bedroom. They were at work. My wife, she's like, "You're not fucking buying any more shoes." So I can imagine what yours is looking like.
Well, the thing is the sad part is I don't even wear them as much now. If you notice, when I train, I wear the Atomic shoes because I have a partnership with them now. So I'm working out in Atomics all the time, and my Jordans used to be my workout shoes.
Yeah,
you'll put those back too, bro.
Yeah, they're back in a big way.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's starting with launching some different things, and I think it's kind of cool because that's the shoe I started wearing back in 1990. Believe it or not, I wore those shoes when I first started training.
Yeah, now they're back in a big way. Like back then, you
in
look
the
at someone and
magazine.
go, "Fuck, look at that guy. He's a meathead." Now it's like trendy. Everyone's wearing them.
But they haven't brought back those puffy bodybuilder pants or the crop tops yet, bro.
That's next.
Or the bushy socks.
The bushy socks in the Las Vegas weather. Beautiful.
Bring it back, man. Jay, it's up to you. Let's do it.
They make your calves look bigger, Shane.
I noted, bro. Noted.
Let's not bring up the yellow and black striped fucking bodysuit from the 80s.
I wore the unitards. You know what the unitard is?
Yeah.
And I used a fanny pack to cover my balls.
Boom.
Fanny packs are coming back too.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that.
Oh man, that's fucking funny. Hey, so Jay, let's talk about when you turned pro. How did that happen? And which show was it?
I turned pro at the U.S. Nationals back when they didn't have a super heavyweights. It was only up to heavyweights. I won my class, which granted me a pro card. Back then, it was a lot harder to get pro cards than it is now. They started giving away top two, and there's a lot more shows where you can qualify for pro status. But I had just turned 23. It was my first attempt. I had a little publicity going in there. I was favored as the top contenders, and I fortunately was able to walk away and earn my pro card. And pretty much after that, I was, then in a pro career with a lot of great competitors to go against. That was the little downfall. It's kind of like, be careful what you wish for. I was the best amateur on the circuit, but when I got to the pros, I had people like Flex and Ronnie and Sean Ray and Nasser El-Sambadi, all these guys that were competing. Dorian Yates had just retired, I think, he was getting close to retiring, but I wasn't, of course, going to qualify for the Olympics if they were in that age, Now there's a lot more pro shows you can get qualifications by winning these shows, but I really didn't know what to do at that point because I took a year off and then I started competing in 98 as a pro, so I skipped 97 and went into my first pro show in 98. Far
out. Like nearly 20 years ago now. Jay, you could have easily become the greatest Mr. O record holder, but, obviously there was a lot of those big names in the way, particularly Ronnie, take us over, that sort of era and some of the battles between yourself and Ronnie and just, you guys were monsters in those days.
I competed in 98. I think Ronnie actually won the Night of Champions that year, and Kevin Leverone was second. And that's where he later went and won the Mr. Olympia. The end of 98 was his first one. So I finished 11th in that show, which I didn't come in top condition. It was, my first pro show. And then in 99, I went to the Arnold in Ironman, and I was able to place third and fourth there. That qualified me for the Olympia, being top 3 of that show. And I went to my first Olympia. I finished second to last. That was Coleman's second win. And then I was really disappointed. I sat out the whole next year. I just competed in the Olympia, and I finished 8th. At that point, I signed, if you guys remember, I signed a deal with ISS. I think that's why I was actually out in Australia, was to represent that brand after 2000. And that's when I started training to, I literally, after 2000 Olympia, was able to go to the Grand Prix in England and one other location. And Ronnie and I were the only two big names there, and I finished 1-2 to him, and that's the first time I really got to stand next to him. And I remember Chris Aceto saying to me, who was traveling me at the time, he was doing my diet, and he said, Jay, I'm telling you, you can beat this guy. And, you know, for me, I mean, showing me pictures at the time, you know, it was no internet or anything like heavy then. It was just starting. I think I built my website in 2000, but we didn't see like what anyone really looked like show to show, except for like, you know, pictures that were taken. So after evaluating everything, I said, screw it. I'm going to train for the Olympia in 2001. I'm going to come back bigger, and I want to stand next to Ronnie Coleman. And that's when I finished, you know, I went into 2001 short after I met you guys out there, and I placed a controversial second to Coleman that people thought, you know, I was ahead by 6 points after prejudging. I don't know if any of you guys went out to that show at that point, but
we weren't allowed to travel back then, Jay. We started traveling late 2000s. We'll get into that, but please continue.
So we finished 1-2. You know, he came back on an impossible point score at the night show to actually come back and win it. I finished second, controversially. I went to the Arnold after that in 2002. Won my first Arnold. I skipped the Olympian 2002 because I was building a house in Las Vegas. I moved to Vegas from California to get into the real estate market. I started doing that. And then after that, 2003, 4, 5, I was second to Coleman. A lot of battles where I was close. And then 2006, beating him for the first time. And, you know, basically that was kind of the end for Ronnie. He finished in 2007, like, out of the running. I think he was fourth or something. And then I kind of took over the lead from there. And, you know, the rest is kind of history, where I won 2, lost 1 to Dexter, then won 2 more, you know, losing it to Phil Heath with a torn bicep. And then, you know, Phil Heath's kind of taken over from there. And I've gone off and done my different ventures, and I still am still in demand more than probably anyone on the circuit for appearances and schedule. So I see Ronnie a lot. I mean, we talk about the old days. We had a kind of an iffy relationship back then because there was a lot on the line. He thought he was the greatest bodybuilder ever. He's probably right. I was always in better condition off season than Ronnie, but he, you know, whenever he put it together for the show, he always seemed to come out on top. He was unbeatable from the backside, where I thought I was dominant from the front in a lot of poses. But you know how they say that back thing wins, you know, and I didn't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I think that the whole striated glutes thing got out of control. Like, I think that people looked at that, and that's how they viewed it. If a guy doesn't have striated glutes, he's not in shape. I think it was a little less apparent back then. So if a guy had that size, had striated glutes, it was, you know, the sure winner. Nowadays, it seems like everyone has them. The leg size are getting bigger and bigger now. I think the equipment, you know, is much more advanced. I think guys are figuring out different ways to train now, and that allows them to build bigger body parts. And, you know, supplements are better. The food, the diet, nutrition factors are better. But Ronnie and I, that was when bodybuilding, I think, was at its peak, and I don't think it's peaked since. And I don't want to say that in a negative way, but I think that, you know, Phil really doesn't have any challenge. Kai Green bailed on that challenge. He should have stayed with it because he's still a fan favorite. I don't know why he chose to move away from it. But
sorry to jump in, Jay, but as you said, man, if anyone, you know, Googles back to your era, you know, 2000s to late 2000s, and you mention Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, Kevin Lerone, Dexter Jackson, even Gunter, I mean, there's some fucking hard guys to beat, and you were amongst that.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that these guys aren't good today, or, you know, it's still tough. I mean, Phil's still got competition, you know, but the truth is we had a lot of good guys, man. You know, I mean, you look at some of the greats. I think they were tougher when I was coming up and wasn't Mr. Olympia yet. I think, you know, when the Kevin, Sean, Nasser, Flex Wheeler, all those people they were a lot tougher, I think, than what they have to deal with nowadays, because there are a lot more guys on an equal level. Like, could have been those guys who would, like, one guy would win one week, another guy would win another week. I mean, they would do a lot of shows, so they would compete a lot. Nowadays, no one wants to compete, right? It's not as beneficial to compete. So I just think that the whole system has changed a lot. I'm not. I don't sit there and follow it like I used to. You guys probably don't too, but there's just too much to follow, and there's too many divisions now. And I think that the guys that you see now are more on the social platforms than the competitive. You know, there's no real way to view it because the magazines don't really produce a lot now. They're not covering a lot of the events. So digitally is how you have to look at everything. So I'm sure you still see a lot of the upcoming talent, but I don't see how many guys. I don't see as many guys heading out to Australia and doing tours and that kind of thing. You know,
it's definitely changed a lot, and there's a massive difference between looking good on Instagram and looking good on the stage as a pro as well. You know, it's almost a little bit similar to the Jordan LeBron debate. You know, who's the greatest of all time? This sort of bodybuilding era versus yours is a little bit similar in that way as well, I reckon.
I think so. You know, it's easy for me to say, hey, me and Ronnie were the greatest rivalry ever. It probably was, you know? I mean,
yeah.
I would say, I mean, who else would you really say? I mean, you can talk about Arnold's days with Franco, or, you know, you can talk about him and Lou Ferrigno, but really it wasn't like him and Lou were 1-2. And I mean, I think bodybuilding was a little more of a cult sport, even more back then, even though, you know, it became really more popular once Arnold like got into acting and Pumping Iron was seen by more viewers. But I just think with the way bodybuilding is, the appeal has, you know, obviously some people see it as like there's other divisions now that can catch attention. We didn't have that competition when we were competing. So the show was about the muscle with the Mr. Olympias, right? Nowadays, you have Mr. Olympia's kind of watered down, just like the Arnold Classics. Like, you won the Arnold Classic back when I was doing it. It was the only one. You won in Ohio. That was it. Now it's on every continent, including out there. The Olympia now, there's many divisions. There's the classic physique Mr. Olympia. There's the men's physique. There's Mr. Olympia. There's 212. I mean, there's just they just split it all down. So I think it's kind of watered it a little bit. And the Mr. Olympia title really, I think, meant a lot more when I was winning it or when Ronnie Coleman was winning it than maybe now. And some people would agree and disagree with it, but it gives people more advantages. So I'm not really knocking it. But at the same time, like, I loved putting Mr. Olympia on my signature because that was like, there was no anyone else.
Top.
No one could use that signature, right? Now, you know, you got the question whether, okay, well, I'm the Mr. Physique Olympia, or I'm Classic, or I'm 212, or
12.
I mean, those guys are all great. They're the best in their division, but you know, the division's now been split off because there's just more place for our platforms for these people to, in all sizes and stature, body structure, to compete. But back then,
definitely
the muscle show sells it, guys. That's really what it comes down to. Everyone wanted to see the muscle. And people talk about mainstream and this bullshit. But listen, bodybuilding is what it is, man. It's just, you know, people still come every year to Vegas to see the muscle, you know?
Yeah. And I think you mentioned it before. I mean, social media has changed the industry so much. And as you said, there's guys now that are, you know, mega popular with, you know, hundreds of thousands, even millions of followers. And I mean, what's their call to fame? You know, they look good, they have a bit of a six pack and a large number of followers. And they've just changed the industry. And bodybuilding, I suppose, has been touched in that way too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, some of these guys have a message, and some people, like, they have the motivational side to them. So that's why they have a following. So people look at them and they say, wow, you know, they're motivational, meaning they talk to the viewers, which, you know, I'm kind of like a little more shy in that sense, where you remember the videos I used to put out. I didn't say much. I would just do the work.
Just do the work, yeah.
I've become more vocal as I've gotten a bit older and in front of more crowds, and I understand, like, I was able to transpire over to social media and learn, okay, you have to have a voice in order for people to notice you. but don't overspeak. You know, some people I think overspeak. I think a lot of people copycat others, but I think some of these guys with the big social followings, they just have a message, or they have a lifestyle that people are sought after to achieve. You know, listen, I learned through my trial and error, and if that's all it is, and that's my whole career has been trial and error, is that people want to see the lifestyle sometimes more than how Jay Cutler does chest or legs or whatever, right? They want to see what goes on behind the scenes in order to create this character that comes to life when I stand on a bodybuilding stage. So they want to see home time with my family and my friends and spouses or whatever, and they want to see how I shop and what I do, everything that I've done, and that's kind of like a really good reason that I was so popular, is because I kind of allowed that in my DVDs right early on. It was kind of what I portrayed. My early social media is I would produce a DVD every year, as Ronnie Coleman did. We would put out DVDs so people could take a view into our lives, what went on inside and outside the gym, travel experiences. So you really get to learn the personality, and people either like you or they don't. And I think people realize that, hey, Jay is just more of a normal guy rather than someone with an ego, that some of these guys, they think when they look at their physiques, though, they must be egomaniacs and have a bad attitude and whatnot. But they learned that I was very mellow and chill, and, you know, I was just focused on one goal, and that was to be the best bodybuilder on the planet and be the best to be an ambassador for it. And I continue to work hard, and I continue to work hard, man. Like, I'm never satisfied, even now with my business side and doing all the different ventures that I do. But it allows me more time to focus on that stuff, guys, stepping away from the stage. Like, I'm so happy being retired. I can honestly say that. I've achieved the biggest title you could, which I think makes it a little easier to retire. I think some of the guys like the Leveronis and the Flex Wheelers who come back and compete, they had unfinished business, right? I don't know what that's like. So before you guys ask me what I think of their returns, I think it's great because maybe they had personal goals, and I think the fans loved it a lot. But I couldn't imagine coming back in my 50s and being up there and competing. I mean, that's a lot of work. So I respect those guys.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for them coming back too. But obviously you're enjoying the lifestyle that you've created for yourself now, which is awesome for us to be involved with and see as well.
Yes.
Hey, Jay, going back to bodybuilding, 08 you lost to Dix, and 09 you came back and reclaimed the O. I was there for that one. You had the cool haircut that year. I remember Drew going, "How's everyone looking?" I was like, "Jay's going to win, bro. He's got the hair. His face fucking looking good." That's my favorite Jay physique. What would you say would be the best physique you took to the States?
Yeah, 01 was strong, but 09 I was a fucking beast, you know? So I mean, you were there. You saw how I came out, and, you know, that's the famous quad stomp, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
One of the most recognized images of all time, you know?
That's the one.
But you being there in person and seeing it, as opposed to, like, the pictures are good, but when you came out in person, it was just goosebumps from head to toe, and it was just everyone just in the whole arena just was like, this is a no-brainer. Jay's fucking come back bigger and better than ever. That was a special moment to see. How was it for you? It was
the greatest victory. You know, I get that question a lot. What was the most? What meant the most to you? Listen, it was kind of validation. It was like redemption of like Dexter beating me. Which, listen, he probably deserved it. According to what textbook says you're supposed to come into Olympia. Like, I was off in 07. I was off in 08. So it was kind of like it bled over from 07. And I think it was like one of those things Mr. Olympias usually sometimes are questionable, but if you're the champ, you got to really get kind of beat up to be able to be knocked out. And I think in 7, I was off. So they said, okay, if he comes back in 8 and he's much better, you know, we can, you know, give it to him, with validation or whatever. And then I was a little off, and, you know, they gave it to Dexter, but I knew I had to come back in 09 like a monster with the condition and the size and all the imbalance issues I was running into. So I was able to do that. Kai Green, Phil Heath, Dexter. These guys were all talked about as being the front runners, if you remember that year. That's the year Kai Green moved to Vegas like Rocky and planted himself in Vegas the last 6 or 8 weeks before the show. And he had won the Arnold, and he had looked unbelievable at the Arnold. And if he duplicated that condition, he probably would have been second. But Kai Green had, didn't think about taking himself out of an element and putting himself in a whole different, climate and everything else. I mean, I don't know who was guiding him that year, but you're bound to be off. You can't just transplant your whole training after you've been training 8 weeks. If you train 4 months for the show and take the last 8 weeks and train in Vegas and think, oh, I'm going to be at my all-time best. I mean, you got to kind of stick to what kind of got you there, right? Yeah, so I was actually
cold weather, didn't he? He came out of New York, cold weather, and straight into that heat and dryness.
It's humidity. It's he was living out of a hotel or whatever. Like a kitchen hotel, and he's training in a different gym on equipment that's different. I mean, the mindset has to be. It's all cool on paper, but let's be real. I mean, it's like you guys going and living somewhere for 2 months and trying to work the job like you work it at home. It just doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was able to bring people in and out, and what I had created that year was kind of like a model experiment where I had people flying in and out, training partners. I was flying all over for tissue therapy, all over the country. I therapists flying in and out that were helping me. I had a really great team in my corner. I mean, at that time I was working with Ronnie Rambod, who he worked, he came in that year and kind of helped guide me a little bit and gave me the boost to really make me better. And nothing to take anything away from Chris Aceto, because he was amazing through my career. But, we worked together for so long. I needed to come up with something different. So I was able to work with Hani, and he showed me a couple things different. With food patterns, and the cardio really is what made the difference. I was doing stairs twice a day for 40 minutes. And I think when I got my ass kicked in 08, it was like a big wake-up call. I loved being Mr. Olympia, and when it's taken away, you kind of like, shit, I let it slide away. And I was able to come back and win it, and I won it in big fashion. Like you said, Shane, you were there. When I won it, everyone was ecstatic because I was a very liked guy in the industry. I mean, people wanted to see me.
Wanted to see you, yeah. I think I've been to about 11 Olympias now, and that's the most memorable by a long shot. And I remember sort of following your journey up until that moment, that year, and then seeing you come out on stage, man. Like I can get goosebumps thinking about it now. It was just something probably never ever witnessed again. You know what I mean? It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's one of the better physiques to hit the stage. I'm not just saying that because it's me, but, Phil Heath in 11 was fucking amazing, He beat me in 11. That was the best Phil Heath I've ever seen. But, you can argue Ronnie's best in 98, right? He won his first one. 2003, people thought he was amazing. I thought he was too big. We all got too big. I've said this over and over. I mean, we all push the limits, right? I was 254 at that Olympia, by the way, guys.
Far out, 254.
So, you can go back. I've been as big as 273 on Olympia stage, 2004. I won it in 06 at 272. So you guys kind of, and I turned pro at 248. So my best was always in the mid 50s. 2001 Olympia was 261.
Well, that's like 124 kilos at 272. In our terms, 124 kilos, that's like an overweight person when you compare the scales. That's massive.
Yeah, and I mean, at my height, I mean, it's, bodybuilders are 5'9", 5'10". I mean, that seems to be the ideal height. And of course, the most common thing people say to me is, I thought you were taller, And I said, well, I was wider when I was bigger. That was my goal. And obviously now I've slimmed down a lot. I'm about 240 now, and I'm just trying to be more healthy. I'm
looking really good too.
Trying to keep up to you, bro.
You're doing a good job, man. I was going to ask, man, like back in the day against Mr. O, was your mentality, okay, I've got to go to the gym, I've got to take the next 12 months and prep, and beat this guy on size? And was that your whole direction during those 12 months, or was there other game plans in the background that we're unaware of?
You know what? My goal was to go to the gym and increase the body parts, and I was always concerned about the conditioning because I knew I had the size. I just needed to be sharp every show, and I think for me it wasn't about getting bigger. It was about just shaping the body parts better and mastering, showing what I could show the best. I mean, I never thought about the guys much. I mean, obviously Ronnie was my main competition for a lot of years. And, once he was gone, I didn't concern myself with anyone because there was no one bigger than me at the time. And I knew that, once I got rid of Ronnie and he wasn't coming back, I had to focus on these little guys like the Dexters and the Phils and even Kai Green at the time, who wasn't really big.
Little guys.
Well, I'm not relative. They weren't big then, really. On my standards. I mean, I was still the biggest guy on stage. And they were up and coming, some of these guys, except, of course, Dexter, who's older than me. But it's just crazy to go back and think when I start thinking about it because, my vision was to go to the gym every day and just kill it, and not get injured and be able to get in the best shape to win the Mr. Olympia. But I didn't think about the other guys, man. I didn't think about anything but going up there and winning, to be honest. And that's the truth. I mean, it may be kind of weird to hear, but
you know where you're at. You just got to focus on your strengths and your weaknesses and do whatever it takes to put the best physique on the stage. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was sure I was going to win it. I mean, I can tell you in 01, 03, 4, 5, 6, all those years I thought I was going to win it. I had no doubt in 09 I was coming back to win it. I wasn't concerned one bit because I knew I was going to be better than these guys. And I was so ready so many weeks out, and everyone that saw me is like, holy shit, no one's going to beat this. And when you hear that from people that have looked at you for many, many years and watched me just climb up and eventually be the top guy, I mean, it was just really hard to imagine like someone coming in out of nowhere and just becoming a front runner. But we haven't seen that in a lot of years. I mean, Ronnie and myself weren't people that were right at the top immediately, like a Phil Heath. It took us a long time to get there. I mean, I was second to last at my first Olympia. Ronnie was last. And eventually we climbed our way up. I mean, and then eventually no one would have expected me in 01 to go from 8th to 2nd,
Yeah.
And that surprised a lot of people. And then once I stayed there, it was like I knew I was going into a front runner every year and I was going to get that look, and I was prepared to get that look with the top guys, and I knew I would prevail eventually. So my mindset was very strong, and I think that carried over from my days of doing the concrete and the family business, having the confidence of the family around me and teaching me a trade and being dedicated to whatever my craft was. And I've always excelled at things I put my mind to. So for me, it was just a great opportunity, and I look back now and I used it as a stepping stone to do bigger and better things, which is awesome.
Having that strong mind, Jay. Obviously, now you're a part of the BPI family, and you have your own brand, Cutler Nutrition. You'd really need a strong mind to work with Derek from BPI. So set you up well for that.
Yeah. Well, Derek's a character, but Derek and I become good friends. I met Derek back in 2012, and we talked about doing something together. It didn't happen for a year later or so, but he's taught me a lot. We've had a lot of good and edgy times with each other, being in business or whatever. But we remain friends. I'm actually going to get together with him. He's coming to Vegas on the 17th, so we're actually going to get together and grab some food. And I hadn't seen him since his wedding. He's married now, so it'll be good to see him. I'm sure you guys don't talk to him much anymore, right?
No, not as much, but probably a lot of our most memorable experiences and funniest times in the industry have come from Derek, bro. So definitely got nothing but love for him. He's a character, and got utmost respect for him.
Yeah.
So true,
He's always asking me. He loves my short shorts. He's always asking me to send him a pair of short shorts.
He probably would actually wear them now. He's getting a little more stylish in his old age.
Just to the listeners who don't know who Derek is, that was the guy that was, I think, one of the founders of BPI Sports and one of the big bosses. And man, this guy was like a million miles an hour, and like he actually kind of resembled the guy from Wolf of Wall Street. His style of management and that, but some people just couldn't handle it. It was just hardcore. Man, there's so many fun stories.
You've got into your battles with him too, I'm sure. You know.
They're fun.
But we, like I said, he's kind of he's not as involved these days, so he's kind of just enjoying his time and doing what he does. But we stay in communication, which is good.
Yeah, it's cool. Jay, I was going to talk to you about longevity, and you mentioned, you're sitting at a healthy 240 and you're looking great. It kind of saddens me looking at the other bodybuilders around your era who have injuries now, operations. There's been a few losses. I mean, people have passed away as well. It's sad to see, but you've maintained longevity even in your mid-40s, which is my age. I'm in my mid-40s. So what's your thoughts on longevity, and what are you doing to keep the body going and keep in shape?
Well, pretty much for me, I always followed a great meal plan, and people thought, oh, Jay's so big and he's so unhealthy and this and that. And granted, I was carrying too much weight and I ate tremendous amounts of food. But fortunately for me, I think a lot of it, has to do with genetics too. But I never had any health conditions being as big as I was and putting my body through the torment that I did. And I think, retiring at 40, it definitely helped me, set up for when I stepped away. I obviously started dropping muscle. And then the next thing I slowly toned down. But, I've eaten a lot less food. My training has become a lot less, but I didn't have a lot of injuries. I mentioned the bicep tear. I had that repaired, but I didn't do a lot of crazy training. I didn't have to. I did a lot of volume work. I would do up to 30, 40 sets for back and legs, did 20 sets for all the other body parts. I think the volume training really helped me a lot. And at the time when I was doing that, people used to tell me, well, you need to be training like Ronnie in order to beat Ronnie. And I used to be like, no, I don't have to do that. Next thing you know, I was, winning Olympia. So that volume training, I think the tissue therapy, the stretching, all the things I did outside of the gym to make my body better really helped me a lot. And I think the training, I was smarter with it. But I did follow a very, very strict nutritional program. And you guys heard about, you saw it firsthand. I mean, when I came out there, I think I was eating clean way back in the 2000s. I mean, I would eat super healthy. I mean, that was super important for me,
See, Shano? Volume training, bro. I keep telling you, volume, bro.
And eating clean.
What are you not doing a lot of volume? I mean, how do you follow your training regimen? What do you think?
Don't get us started, Jay.
No, I do a lot of volume, a lot of giant sets and super sets. I don't try and lift a heavy weight. I train 7 days a week of weights, and I do 40 minutes of cardio a day as well. That's what I need to do just to maintain, my physique. I can't lift any heavy-ass weights, bro. I go down, I won't come back up again.
Well, I mean, we all go through that, but I mean, as you get older, you got to be smarter, and that's, I think that's where the difference is going to be with a lot of these guys, especially the younger generation, and they think, okay, I'm going to follow this kind of training. I've kind of put that out there that, listen, as a bodybuilder, you need to move a weight that is lighter but looks like a lot heavier weight, right? Your muscle doesn't know how much weight it's pushing. It's time under tension. I think that's an important term in bodybuilding. You have to feel the contraction. You got to feel the muscle work. I see guys with the smallest legs squatting 500 pounds for reps, but they're not really feeling it if it makes any sense. They're pushing with their joints and their hips, and they're not getting the muscle contraction. So you got to put your mind to muscle, and you have to get the work done. That's all.
Well, I'm glad you're saying that, Jay, because the young guys ask me at the gym, and man, you pretty much answered, echoed what I've been trying to say. They virtually laugh. They're like, "What the fuck does this old guy know? He does cardio and he does, medium weights in volumes. Fuck him, But yeah, you're fucking right, man.
He's got a bald head, and a big nose. What does he know? But I trained chest in the gym this morning, and there would have been two probably 17, 18-year-old kids that outlifted me on every exercise. Exactly what you said. I'm about that mind-muscle connection. Time under tension is key. Limited range of motion, and these guys are just lifting heavy-ass weights with their joints and with momentum and gravity. I think so. Yeah, it's hard to watch, but I don't know. I think as you get a little bit older, you get a bit smarter too, and it's all about learning. Like we all learn every day in the gym. We're learning,
Of course, but I think today's society is a lot different,
Jay, what's your training like now? Like how many days a week are you training? How many hours a day? You still look phenomenal now.
I still train like 4 days a week, probably. To be honest, man, I try to train as much as I can, and I don't really have a schedule where I do anything specific. Like it seems like I train each body part once every week, and I go in the gym and I still train a lot of volume, just lighter weights. For some things, for other body parts, it's still the same as when I was winning Olympias, and I just do 12 repetitions on everything, 12 to 15 reps, but I just get in the gym as much as I can. And you guys see my travel schedule. So I seem to find more time to train because now the diet isn't as important, meaning I'm not trying to put on size. So sometimes I'll land from a plane, and the best things I can do to avoid the jet lag is I eat a meal and I go to the gym. But sometimes, I train on an empty stomach. Some days, like even after being at the expo, like when I was in Australia, I went and trained, on the Sunday night. I'll train even after missing, only eating 2 or 3 meals. I don't care about eating 6 or 7 meals anymore, although I do still eat about 5. But the portions are about half as much as they used to be honest, guys. I mean, I eat half as much as carbohydrates or protein. So where I was eating 12 ounces of meat every meal, I'm eating 5 or 6 maybe at this point. And my carbohydrates, I used to eat 100 grams of carbs every meal I would eat. I might eat 30 to 40 grams of carbs now. So I have no body goals. I mean, I just want to be lean. I still want to be athletic looking, but I want no size whatsoever, meaning when I do reps and sets and when I walk in the gym, I don't think about how much weight I'm going to push. I think about how much pump I'm going to get and how it's going to benefit, especially the body parts I'm training and how much time I have. I try to do a full workout, guys, in 30 minutes. Of weights. But I do cardio every morning, and you guys can watch this on my social media channels. Every morning I do cardio for 30 to 40 minutes every day, and I use that time to catch up on emails or think about what I'm going to do during my day. And I can tell you still the best part of my day is going to the gym and working out. I still love to do it. I mean, it's my passion. I didn't really care. To be honest, I didn't care about the competition stage. I loved being the best in the world, but I didn't look forward to getting up there and doing the compulsory poses and doing the free posing. That shit meant very little to me. It was just a platform to showcase my hard work. But for me, the training was what excited me the most, getting up and going to the gym on a daily. And I can tell you the only thing I miss about training for the Olympias and all the other titles I ever won was the cool times with the training partners, and the people in the gyms were just normal people that, used to welcome me with open arms. I mean, Vegas took me in, man. Like, I'm from Massachusetts and I was in California, but the Vegas community accepted me so much that, those days meant a lot to me, being in the gym and training around different people and meeting different personalities and giving me the motivation to be a better me. And like I told you, I had great training partners along the way, and there was just a lot of great positive things around me that created, that great opportunity for me to showcase my best. And meeting people like you guys, I mean, listen, it's like, we go way back and we've done business and, we have the same kind of interests. Obviously, you guys are active, but at this point, we're all beating father time, man. That's what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to stay young looking and, stay healthy. That's the most important thing. I think that's really what people say to me the most is, man, how do you stay healthy at 44 and how do you still look the way you do? And the truth is, man, is I still follow an awesome diet. I have a meal service company here that I actually have, a partnership with MegaFit Meals that, they cook all my food for me every week, but I still get up and cook my breakfast. And when I travel, I mean, I'm able to get some of the food companies to supply me with food. And, I still go out and order my chicken breast and my rice or vegetables. And I stay away from red meat more now, guys. I don't eat as much. But I eat more fish and that kind of thing, which is, a little more lower calorie and less fats.
Easier to digest.
Easy to digest, and it doesn't put as much weight on you so fast. If you want to put on weight, anyone listening to this, add your red meat in there because that's going to definitely put the weight on.
And you're also saving on toilet tissues, man, because when you're trying for a comp and eating 6-7 times a day, you need 3 or 4 rolls a day, don't you? You don't have to answer that,
hey,
man.
Dave, what other business ventures are you involved in?
I'm doing all sorts of stuff. I have a medical lean business in Vegas. I'm doing some cutting and cleaning of ammunition like guns. And, obviously you guys know I'm in the supplement business. I'm promoting like 5 NPC competitions now. I have the food company doing the meals. I still have a lot of endorsement deals. I have the belt line that I partner with Chic on. I'm doing the Atomics thing. But, a lot of the branding, it's just, it's building, like I said, I built a lot of relationships and I coincided with a lot of the endorsement deals that turned into, kind of a partnership with a lot of these brands. And I'm still, an ambassador for a lot of these different events. I'm booked up every year at the same events. I try to hit every major trade show. You saw this year I was in Melbourne and I was in Sydney. And Australia is a huge market for me. I think there's a lot of opportunities. And what surprised me in Sydney is the kids were like 13 and 14 that were lifting weights, man. And I can't believe that. I can't believe how young the demographics are. You guys have a way younger demographic than what I see in the States.
Crazy, man.
These other countries, man. And these kids were built even at 13 and 14. And I'm in my head, like, I started when I was 18, and I told these kids, and they're kind of baffled because, a lot of these kids, maybe their parents, their dad followed me or whatever, and some of them just like, hey, I followed you and Ronnie because I saw Living Large on bodybuilding.com or whatever, but they follow me, and they're just like, they can't believe that I'm looking at them telling them, hey, man, you have a great body because, when your idol tells you, man, you have a great potential, I hope, you're going to take it in and be like, shit, Jay Cutler just told me I looked great. And these kids have developed, man. I don't understand it. I don't know what fitness, it just made me realize this year, and this is the first time I ever realized how young demographics are. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think social media has a huge impact on that in our territories, New Zealand and Australia. The growth for us in our industry has been that younger demographic. Kids are starting at the gym, like you said, 12, 13, 14, and with what they can learn online through social media and through YouTube, etc. That's stuff that we would have to read in magazines for 5 or 10 years to learn. They get access to it straight away. My daughters are 8 and 10 and they're at the gym. They go to the gym 3 days a week and they have a little app and they follow this. So it's definitely crazy to see for us as well.
Yeah, but
I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, in Shayna's
I
case,
remember, Jay, when we met in 04, we worked, we had an IFBB show and we worked together. You were with Muscle Tech at the time. And I just won the Australian under 75 kg division. And you were like, what's that in pounds? I think it was 140 pounds or something like that. And you go, yeah, man, you look really good. Are you natural? And I was like, yeah. And you go, yeah, that's your problem. Do you remember that?
I don't remember saying that. You must have been small as shit then.
Oh, that's 165.
Like I was small and skinny, bro.
165, man. That's the weight.
Well, you were a lot bigger at your peak. You're still good size, but I saw you when you were all jacked up,
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, Shayna keeps talking about becoming a gangster, and now I know you've got a degree in criminal justice. Can you share some words of wisdom of what happens with bad boys and where they end up?
What do you mean, want to be a gangster?
You want to be a gangster, man.
Pew, pew.
Jay, was that a chosen direction for your degree, or is it something you stumbled across at college?
know what? I had a choice to be either sling concrete or I had to pick a trade to do. So I wanted to be a police officer.
Nice.
And that's what I kind of went to school for. And fortunately, during that time, I found the gym, and I became great at it. And then I ended up, going and winning bodybuilding shows and got sponsored. So I fell right into that as soon as I got out of college. And the rest is kind of history, I never became a cop, let's put it that way.
Fuck, imagine trying to be a cop these days, man. Jeez. Were you around for that shooting in Las Vegas?
Well, yeah, I was actually, I knew some people that were actually there inside that were dodging the bullets bouncing off. Crazy.
No, it was terrible, crazy. Man.
I get Juro and Danny reckon that there's that picture of myself between you and Phil Heath at the top, and then the one of yourself amongst the powerlifters down the bottom. They often say that I created that for my own Insta famous.
You fucking did, man. I know.
Growth.
Right.
You seen that one floating around, Jay?
I think you showed it to me.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I showed it to you. Man, you were massive in that pic.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, yes. Dude, I don't think I even, I look back now and I'm like, I don't even know how the hell I was that big. You know what I mean?
That was 13, your comeback, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't even super big that year, if you recall. I mean, that wasn't my biggest year, that's for sure.
I was like 90 kgs in that photo, and I looked like a 11-year-old ballerina girl.
You look like a lump of semen floating in the air.
Your arms are bigger than my whole body.
Yeah, listen, man, there's me out there with the power lifters, like some of these power lifters, and they make me look tiny,
It's just angles, bro. It's just angles.
Yeah, right.
So, in 10, 15 or 20 years, how do you think Jay Cutler will be remembered in the history of bodybuilding? Or how do you want to be remembered?
You know what? I mean, I was the guy that, I did the impossible. I mean, I think people view that in my career as I kind of did what people never expected. I mean, I wasn't out of the gate. I was a great bodybuilder as a teenager. Like I said, I turned pro pretty easily, but, I was battling, Mr. Olympia, and, people didn't think I'd get that far, and eventually won it and lost it and kind of rewrote history. And, I made a lot of historical leaps for fitness, and I was one of the entrepreneurs that really kind of wrote the guideline for a lot of these guys to, market themselves and create that branding. And I think that's how I would be remembered as more. I think people are going to look at me as one of the greatest I think honestly, people say he's the greatest bodybuilding, entrepreneur of his time. I mean, no one else really did what I did and created the branding and did the great things, on the marketing side to create the brand. I mean, a lot of guys kind of copied that. And now, you have these social media people that are different. I can't say, that's why I said, bodybuilding branding. It's, the social media people are at different levels. They have a further reach, some of these people, and they have the YouTube channels. And, although I do use YouTube, I'm not as big as some of these guys.
Well, everyone knows about Mr.
That lifestyle is kind of like
and your teriyaki, Mr. Cutler, Mr. Old Teriyaki through social media. So you're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, people know about it. I mean, people follow the icons, but some of these YouTubers, they have a million YouTube fans. They're creating a lifestyle that's like a TV show, right? So they have a camera on them 24/7. I don't have the patience for that, to be honest. I mean, being at my age, I like my peace and quiet. You can imagine when I travel to these expos all around the world and I'm surrounded by people constantly. Sometimes I just got to get home and I kind of, escape everything.
Yeah.
And just kind of close the door on a lot of things, especially after you've been doing it for over 20 years at this level. I mean, back in 2001, just think about it. I was there in 2001 doing what I just did in 2018, and you saw the length of time I spent at these expos to greet these young kids, the older people, and so many people that have seen me since the beginning come by, are still following it. But I think really go ahead.
Sorry, Jay. How cool was it? Some people had photos of Jay Cutler and themselves in photo albums from 01, 04, 13, 17, and were presenting it to you. I was blown away, man.
it's bananas, man, and that's when you realize how much of a mark you leave in people's lives. And I talk about this all the time. How I started training to be the best, and when I went to the gym, my mindset was to be the best on stage and win everything. But you never understand that you make a huge difference in the people that follow you and their lifestyle and what they do, and whether it's fitness or not even related to fitness. And when these people show up at expos with Polaroid pictures or that were developed from that time, it's just crazy for me, because who the hell takes, everyone takes pictures off their phones now. Do you remember? I mean, dude, they used to come to the shows and wind up cameras, and they'd get one shot, and whether your eyes were closed or not, they wouldn't ask for a shot. You want to laugh? I used to go to expos, and I had a Polaroid camera there, and I would actually sell like the Polaroids for $5 because people would show up and they'd be like, "Damn, I forgot my camera." This is before digital cameras, so I would have my Polaroid there, and I say, "Hey, I'll sign it and sell it to you for $5," and I would have rolls of,
that's crazy.
Just load the machine. But dude, I used to do the wind-up pictures. Even when I used to take pictures of myself, I have to go to the 1 hour development and get them developed just to see how I looked. I mean,
how you look.
That just to see the backside, and I mean, that's how much has progressed. So these people that come to me that still have these are the people that have the magazines from back in, 2002 or 2001. I mean, and like my mom has them all in her attic, and she said to me, "I don't know what I'm going to do with all these magazines." And I'm thinking, man, like some collector's going to take them at some point.
Don't chuck them. Don't throw them out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's like she collected every magazine I ever been in.
Whoa.
How's that? In the smallest. Awesome. So you can imagine how many magazines my mom has. She would go out and spend the $5 on every magazine. I mean, it's just
Mums are the best. Mums are the best.
I know, bro, but that's when magazines. I landed my first Muscle and Fitness cover when I was like 22. That was my whole life, man. Like being on the cover of Muscle and Fitness back in 1995. You know what that meant? Like you had made it then.
You had made it. Yeah.
That's equivalent.
That was like winning the Olympia. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like having like 1 million followers now on social media. Just to put it in perspective for the kids of today, they just won't understand the pain, especially of the roll-up camera and not knowing what photo you took, and whether, as you said, your eyes were closed. Were your biceps peaking at 14 inches when you took a photo with Jay? Where were you at?
Yeah, that's crazy. And, it's a good comparison, Juro, as actually that's like a 21 or 22-year-old kid having 1 million Instagram followers. I mean, that's what the Muscle and Fitness cover is like, because that's how many fake people are going to see. People are going to see that from all over the world. You are going to be recognized. When people went grocery shopping, people are going to look at you because Muscle and Fitness was huge back then. Like everyone read Muscle and Fitness. So for me to land that cover, it was just like, wow, I really made it. And that's what really gave me the motivation to continue to stay with bodybuilding.
Yeah, like no one shared anything back in those days. Like, as you said, you had to earn your way up to that cover. And when you made it, I mean, that was the holy grail. And like we used to wait and say, okay, let's read what's the next training tip. What's Jay going to say about this, or what's Ronnie going to say about, legs and so on. Whereas these days you can just download it, whatever you want. It's not as, what's the word I'm after here? As precious?
It's not as precious. It's not as, it's not, you talk about accolades.
Not as sacred.
Right?
It's not as sacred.
Yeah, that's a good term for it. That's a good term.
When you were out in 04, Jay, we had a photo together, and that made the Muscle magazine. And my friend was on holiday over in Bali, and they were selling, imitation Jay Cutler DVDs. And the cover was a picture of you and me side by side. So he got a couple of those for about $1.50 each back from Bali. So I was pretty stoked with that.
That's hilarious.
That's the only cover I've ever made, bro. That's the only cover I've ever made.
Right? Where's my residuals?
Yeah, fucking chase that shit, man. Get legal on his ass.
Yeah. Good stories. But I think, Jay, definitely you're recognized as an entrepreneur, and you've opened pathways in bodybuilding, but for the fitness industry in general, through the branding and selling the clothing and being a part of anything that you've done, that's definitely set up the ways for the guys that are doing it today, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's been cool. I mean, a lot of these guys reach out to me. They ask me for tips more on business, not about training as much. But bodybuilding has kind of changed a little bit. The social media people have kind of taken place, and you see at these expos. I mean, the lines sometimes, that they're shifting towards like those social media people more than the bodybuilders. And you just have to stay out there. You got to keep marketing yourself, letting people in your life. And I always tell, like, the best tip I can give to these up and comers is, show your personality, show your lifestyle. Don't emulate like your heroes. You got to be your own person, right? So, just make sure you get out there, show your personality, talk, to your viewers, and give them time, because that really means a lot to a lot of people.
Well spoken, man, and a great example of a person, who's kept relevant. I think this is decade number 3, not to make you sound old, because you've been around, you've been valid, and you continue to be valid for your hard work and understanding the market and delivering yourself, in a respectful way, and respecting, your fans, and just being an all-round nice guy. And that's legit, man. Like, as you said, we've known each other for a while, and Jay's always been a nice guy all around. So props to you on that, man. Well done.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, much respect, Jay.
We'll let you go soon, Jay, but any funny stories about mistaken identities in the US? Because the Miami Dolphins quarterback is called Jay Cutler too, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, man, every time there's an appearance, someone says, "Oh, is that the quarterback?" Or what? I mean, people have shown up at I'm not gonna even, like, people have shown up with footballs before because they think that they're showing up to see the other Jay Cutler, because they have sometimes advertise these things as Jay Cutler, don't say Mr. Olympia, and people get confused. But to be honest, he kind of lost a lot of popularity after, his downfall a little bit in Chicago. He played for Miami last year, but a lot of interviews, a lot of comparisons. But I've never met the guy. I think he's an outstanding quarterback. People had questionable things to say about his leadership roles. Maybe that's the case, but I still think, the guy had a ton of talent. He made a lot of money. He played, in 3 different teams, I believe, and I've been compared since he left Vanderbilt in college and played in Denver, Chicago, and finished in Miami. So I would like to meet him someday, though. I definitely would like to meet him, because why not? We share the same name, and there's been a lot of comparisons, like I said, so why not?
Yeah, for sure, man. The good thing is you've got your own identity and you're super popular, Someone like me, if there's someone with the same name and same surname, I'll be playing that shit. I'll be, yep, that's me, man.
There's only one fucking Juro, bro, that's for sure.
Fucking yay. All right, Jay, well, thanks so much, man. If our listeners want to get in touch with you or, know about your appearance schedules in the coming weeks and months, what's the best way to contact you or find out this information?
Definitely follow my Instagram at Jay Cutler, or my Facebook page, which is Jay Cutler 4X. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, Jay Cutler TV. I'm putting out, multiple videos a week there now. All the, website, jcutler.com, cutlerathletics.com, cutlernutrition.com, and the Instagrams that go with all those on also. But I'm out there every week, man. I'm out there still promoting, and like I said, I have a little downtime now, and my overseas trips are on hold right now until I may do something in June in the UK, but I'll definitely be back in Australia next year to see you guys at one of these events, and hopefully I'll get to New Zealand one of these times, Shane, too.
Yeah, let's hook it up, bro. Whenever you've got some spare time in your schedule, I'll chuck you an email. Let's try and make something happen. Definitely would love to have you in our country and host you and show you a good time,
I've been telling you that for 10 years, though.
Yeah, let's make it happen, bro.
You'll have to wear a traditional skirt in New Zealand, Jay. Make sure your legs are on point and nice and tanned.
Right.
Well, Jay, you're a true gentleman, bro, and a true legend of the sport. Great ambassador for everybody to look up to and aspire. I've been a huge fan of yours forever, so really humbled and appreciate you taking the time to be on our podcast today. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it, fellas, and we'll talk soon.
All right, take care, brother.
God bless.
Thank you.
Hey, yo, check it. The hour of power. POD cast is upon your ass. Spitting on the mic is the NZ boss and his homie DJ NZ the odds. Yeah, don't twitch, don't snitch, don't switch. Just open up your senses. And now listen to the hour of power. To the hour of power. To the hour of power. To the hour of power.